The alert chime resonated through the Vexari monitoring station, drawing immediate attention from the six-limbed technicians. Their compound eyes shifted rapidly between displays as data streamed in from the outer sensor array. Unknown vessel detected at coordinates 37 to 892.4, announced Senior Monitor Tezik, his voice clickings rising in pitch. Configuration matches no known design in our database. Station Commander Vreeth glided smoothly to the main view screen, her ceremonial cape fluttering behind her. Magnify and analyze. The image sharpened, revealing a ship of startling design, where Vexari vessels embraced elegant curves and spirals, echoing the sacred patterns of their ancient architecture. This craft was all harsh angles and reinforced plating. Exposed weapon mounts studded its hull, and massive engine arrays suggested power reserves far beyond its modest size. Preliminary assessment, Warship, stated the station's artificial intelligence. Threat potential. Significant. It bears markings, Vreeth observed, pointing to symbols etched along the hull. Translate. After a moment of processing, phonetic approximations appeared. UNSCVAUNTLESS. Initiate First Contact Protocol Severn 9, ordered Vreeth, even as she activated a separate command channel. And dispatch battle group Whisper immediately. Whatever this is, we contain it until we understand it. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the UNSC Dauntless, maintaining a calm exterior that belied her racing thoughts. 30 years of faster-than-light capability had carried humanity farther than they'd imagined possible. But this, actual contact with an advanced alien civilization, was the moment every explorer both dreamed of and dreaded. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, Commander reported Communications Officer Chen. Universal mathematical sequences consistent with peaceful contact protocols. Return broadcast using our first contact package, Rise ordered. And maintain defensive posture Alpha. Let's be friendly, but not foolish. Lieutenant Park at tactical tense suddenly. Commander, multiple vessels approaching at high velocity. Configuration suggests military craft. Hold position, Rise said firmly. No aggressive movements. Let's see what they want before we jump to conclusions. The view screen flickered as the alien transmission resolved into visual form. The bridge crew fell silent at the sight of the Vexari communication officer, clearly non-humanoid with iridescent exoskeleton and multiple eyes set in a wedge-shaped head. Greetings, unknown vessel, came the translated voice. You have entered Vexari Imperium space. Identify your species, origin, and purpose immediately. Reyes stepped forward. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the United Nations Space Command Vessel Dauntless. We represent humanity from the planet Earth. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and seek friendship with your people. The alien's compound eyes seem to pulse with light. Your vessel configuration indicates primary function as combat craft. Explain this discrepancy with your stated peaceful intent. In unexplored space, we must be prepared for any contingency, Rise explained. Our weapons remain powered down. Scan us if you wish to verify. Scanning in progress, replied the Vexari officer, a note of suspicion evident even through the translation filter. Rise nodded to Chen, who activated the ship's defensive shields, standard procedure during external scanning to protect sensitive systems. Immediately, the Vexari officer reared back. Alarms became audible through the communication channel, and additional Vexari appeared in the background, gesturing urgently. Energy surge detected, the Vexari announced, voice rising to a shrill pitch. Defensive measures activating. We're just... Rise began, but the transmission cut off abruptly. Across all frequencies, an automated message began broadcasting in multiple languages and formats. Wo ar ning. Hostile warship DTKTE. Battle stations, Rise ordered, watching as the approaching Vexari vessels accelerated and began spreading into attack formation. Looks like first contact just got complicated. Evasive pattern Delta. Commander Reyes ordered as the first volley of warning shots streaked past the Dauntless. Hold fire. I repeat, hold fire. This is still salvageable. The human vessel banked sharply, its maneuvering thrusters firing in precisely calculated bursts that sent it weaving between the approaching Vexeri ships. On the tactical display, Lieutenant Park tracked 12 hostile vessels arranging themselves in a containment formation. "They're broadcasting again," Chen announced, fingers dancing across his console. Audio and visual. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a different Vexeri. This one adorned with metallic insignia that suggested higher rank. The translator struggled momentarily before converting the alien's clicks and hums. "Unknown vessel. This is Fleet Commander Zyvex of the Vexeri Imperium. Power down all systems immediately and prepare for boarding and inspection. Failure to comply will be interpreted as hostile intent." Reyes stepped forward. "Fleet Commander, we're visitors to your space with peaceful intentions. We activated standard defensive measures during your scan. Nothing more. Boarding our vessel violates sovereignty protocols under Earth's interstellar doctrine. Your energy signatures indicate banned technologies," Zyvex replied, compound eyes narrowing. "Our scans detected radiation consistent with nuclear fission and fusion processes, weapons of mass destruction prohibited throughout civilized space for millennia." Understanding dawned on Reyes. "Our propulsion and power systems utilize controlled nuclear reactions. Yes, but these are not weapons. This technology has been safely employed by humanity for over a century." The Vexeri commander's exoskeleton shifted colors slightly, a physiological reaction the translation software couldn't interpret. "Impossible. No species could safely harness such volatile processes for routine use. Deception will not be tolerated. You will submit to inspection." A proximity alert sounded as 3 smaller Vexeri craft broke formation, approaching with devices Reyes recognized as magnetic grapples, boarding technology. "Final warning, Commander," she stated firmly. "The Dauntless will not be boarded against our will. Recall your vessels. You are surrounded, outnumbered, and outgunned," replied Zyvex. "Compliance is your only logical option." Behind the asteroid belt at the system's edge, Krell observer Nextel studied the confrontation with growing excitement. The heavily modified scout ship's sensors recorded every detail of the exchange while remaining undetectable to both human and Vexeri technology. "Fascinating," Nextel murmured to his crew. The newcomers show no fear despite overwhelming opposition. Their ship design suggests practical functionality over ceremony. "Most promising." His second-in-command nodded, tentacles rippling thoughtfully. The Vexeri response is predictably rigid. They see only threat where opportunity exists. "Prepare a secure transmission package," Nextal ordered. "If these humans escape the Vexeri trap, they will need allies. The Dominion should be first to extend its hand." "They're activating tractor technology," Park reported as energy readings spiked from the approaching vessels. 30 seconds to contact. Reyes made her decision. Activate the Hawking drive. Plot a random short jump just far enough to break their formation. The drive hasn't been tested in such proximity to other vessels, Chief Engineer Okafor warned over the comm. "Gravitational interference cold." "We're out of options, Chief," Reyes cut in. "Execute now." The Dauntless's experimental drive core hummed to life, manipulating space-time in ways that made the Vexeri tracking systems shriek with confusion. To their sensors, the human vessel appeared to be in multiple locations simultaneously before vanishing completely. In their haste to reacquire the target, 2 Vexeri ships collided, their elegant hulls crumpling against each other as the Dauntless reappeared momentarily at the edge of the system before making a proper FTL jump to safety. As the human vessel prepared for its final jump, a tightly focused transmission penetrated their communications array. "Greetings, humans of Earth. The Krell Dominion recognizes your potential and offers sanctuary. These coordinates will guide you to friends, not oppressors. Commander Reyes stared at the unexpected message as stars stretched into lines around the view screen. First contact had failed, but perhaps second contact would prove more promising. 6 months after the disastrous first contact, the Vexari monitoring outpost in the Cygnus Reach maintained its vigilant watch over the disputed border region. Senior Monitor Kelvik stifled a yawn as he completed another uneventful scan cycle. The facility, with its state-of-the-art defensive systems and crew of 30 elite personnel, represented the Imperium's unwavering commitment to security. Status report requested Station Commander Vrella, her exoskeleton gleaming under the soft blue lighting. All sectors clear, Kelvik responded, preparing to initiate the next scheduled sweep, when proximity alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. Multiple contacts, emerging from fold space at coordinates 42 to 6791. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying 6 vessels decelerating from faster-than-light travel. Kelvik's compound eyes widened in recognition. The human warship Dauntless among them, he reported, accompanied by 5 additional human vessels and 3 Krell warbirds. Impossible, Vrella whispered. The Krell would never. Her words died as the approaching ships formed an attack pattern that no Vexari tactician would have predicted, seemingly chaotic yet perfectly coordinated. Defensive protocols activated, announced the station AI as energy shields hummed to life, calculating optimal response. The first volley from the human Krell fleet didn't target the station's weapons or shields as expected. Instead, precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses struck the communication array, severing the outpost's connection to the Imperium. Before Vrella could issue orders, the second attack disabled their long-range sensors, effectively blinding the station. They've integrated Krell phase technology with human targeting systems, Kelvik observed in professional admiration despite the circumstances. The trajectories shouldn't be possible at those velocities. The battle lasted precisely 8 minutes before the station's defenses collapsed. Rather than destruction, however, the attackers transmitted a single message: surrender your data cores. No harm will come to your personnel. 3 days later, the Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with agitation as representatives from 22 civilizations debated the implications of the raid. The Vexari ambassador, Zivak, gestured dramatically with his upper limbs. The humans have formed a military alliance with the Krell, he declared. This unprecedented partnership threatens the stability of the entire sector. We demand immediate containment protocols. The Thraxian delegate, her crystalline form refracting light, in patterns expressing skepticism, leaned forward. Intelligence suggests the humans achieved in 3 decades what required centuries for most spacefaring species. Perhaps engagement rather than confrontation would be wiser. Then you should review the biological assessment, countered Zivak, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. The image showed a human anatomical model alongside comparative data. The council fell silent as the analysis unfolded. Humans had evolved on a world with gravity nearly twice the galactic average, in an atmosphere containing elements toxic to most sentient life. Their bodies could regenerate from injuries fatal to other species, withstand radiation levels that would sterilize most worlds, and operate with minimal rest. Most concerning, continued Zivak, is their neurological structure. Human brains evolved for constant threat assessment and pattern recognition, making them natural predators. Their history demonstrates repeated cycles of warfare followed by technological leaps. They innovate most rapidly under pressure. The Nefari representative, known for their empathic abilities, raised an appendage. Yet our limited observations suggest capacity for cooperation, creativity, and deep emotional bonds. Perhaps the Vexari approach triggered defensive responses that do not represent typical human behavior. Before Zivak could respond, an aide rushed to his side, chittering urgently in their native language. The ambassador's exoskeleton paled dramatically. "What is it?" demanded the council elder. "We've just received confirmation," Zivak replied, his voice unsteady. 3 additional Vexeri outposts have gone silent. Simultaneously, such coordination should be impossible for a species so new to interstellar travel. Throughout the chamber, representatives exchanged troubled glances. The humans weren't behaving according to any established developmental model. Whatever they were, whoever they were, they had just announced their presence to the galaxy in a language everyone understood. Strength. The Vexeri battle cruiser Righteous Mandate led its formation toward the human colony world designated Terra Nova. Fleet Commander Zyvex stood on the command deck, his exoskeleton shifting to battle-ready coloration as tactical displays showed their approach vector. Battle assessment. He requested, multiple limbs adjusting the ceremonial combat harness that had been worn by his lineage for 7 generations. Colony defenses minimal, reported his second, analyzing sensor data. Approximately 4,000 human settlers, primarily focused on agricultural and scientific endeavors. Orbital infrastructure consists of 1 small station and 3 unmanned satellites. Zyvex studied the blue-green world growing larger on the view screen. Strange that they would establish an outpost so far from their homeworld with such limited protection. Our tactical simulations predict 98.7% likelihood of immediate surrender upon our arrival. Perhaps they do not expect conflict this far from the contested border, suggested his second. Then they shall learn the cost of underestimating the Imperium's reach, Zyvex replied. Prepare landing craft. I want precision strikes on their administrative center and communications array. No unnecessary casualties. This is punishment, not eradication. The 12 vessels of the battle group arranged themselves in standard deployment formation as they entered orbit. Immediately, alarms sounded across the command deck. Energy signatures from the surface, called the sensor operator. They're activating defensive systems. Impossible, Zyvex responded. Our intelligence indicated. The ship shuddered violently as energy beams lanced upward from concealed ground batteries, precisely targeting the engines of the 3 landing craft as they separated from their carrier vessels. The damaged craft tumbled out of formation, their propulsion systems failing. Ground batteries were disguised as agricultural structures, reported the tactical officer, compound eyes widening in surprise. These are not standard weapons. They appear to be modified mining lasers repurposed for defense. Zyvex's mandibles clicked in frustration. Launch second wave. Target those batteries first. Then. New contacts, interrupted the sensor operator. Multiple vessels emerging from fold space. The view screen shifted to show 7 ships materializing in perfect formation between the Vexeri fleet and the planet. At their center, a vessel twice the size of the others displayed obvious human design principles combined with unmistakable Krull technology. This is Admiral Zhang of the United Nations Space Command, came the transmission. Your forces are targeting a civilian colony in violation of interstellar law. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences of your aggression. Zyvex straightened to his full height. This world lies outside recognized territories. Your colony was established with full knowledge of Vexeri security concerns. We will not be deterred by empty threats from a species barely capable of interstellar travel. Then observe our capabilities firsthand, replied Admiral Zhang calmly. This is your only warning. Zyvex signaled to his weapons officer. Target their command vessel. Full barrage. Energy weapons flared from the Vexeri ships, converging on the human flagship. Instead of impacting against shields, however, the beams encountered swirling distortions in space itself. To the astonishment of the Vexeri crew, their weapons fire curved around the human vessels, some beams even reversing course completely. Quantum mirror defense, gasped the science officer. They've developed practical applications of theoretical technology that our best minds deemed impossible. The localized space-time distortions are redirecting our own energy against us. 3 Vexeri ships suffered critical damage from their own redirected weapons before Zyvex could order a ceasefire. As the damaged vessels drifted, emergency containment fields flickering, the human fleet maintained its protective position without pressing the attack. Your vessels require assistance, Admiral Zhang transmitted. We are dispatching medical and engineering teams. This conflict is unnecessary. We propose dialogue instead of destruction. For the first time, in 12 centuries of recorded history, a Vexari battle group commander gave the order to retreat. As the righteous mandate limped away from the human colony, Zyvex stared at the view screen in disbelief. The humans had not only defeated them, they had offered mercy. Something unprecedented had entered the galactic stage, and the old rules no longer applied. The United Nations Security Council chamber in New York fell silent as the holographic display concluded its replay of the Terra Nova engagement. The assembled representatives, now expanded to include delegates from all nations involved in humanity's expansion to the stars, exchanged troubled glances. Admiral Zhang's tactics were effective, noted General Rivera, leaning forward in her chair. But this victory will only accelerate Vexari response. Our intelligence suggests they're redirecting at least 3 additional battle groups toward human space. Secretary General Okafor stood, his tall frame casting a shadow across the polished conference table. We face an unprecedented situation. Humanity has barely established itself beyond our solar system, and already we're entangled in a conflict with a civilization that has mastered interstellar travel for millennia. The Krell Alliance has provided significant technological advantages, countered the Chinese representative. Their defensive systems and propulsion enhancements have proven decisive. At what cost? Asked the representative from Nigeria. We've accepted these gifts with minimal understanding of Krell motivation. Their generosity seems suspiciously targeted toward military applications. A woman at the far end of the table cleared her throat. Dr. Amara Singh, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, had been granted special clearance to address the council. Her team had been working around the clock analyzing data from several sources. If I may, she began, activating her own presentation. We've made significant progress translating historical archives provided by the Thraxians. What we found should concern us all. The display shifted to show ancient imagery of another species, tall, insectoid creatures with distinctive scarlet markings. The Tyranny, Singh explained, a predatory species that nearly drove the Vexari to extinction 8,000 years ago. Their initial approach was remarkably similar to the Tyranny's first encounters with other civilizations, aggressive, unannounced incursions into established territories. The council members shifted uncomfortably as the implications became clear. The Vexari aren't inherently hostile, Singh continued. They developed their shoot-first protocols after nearly being eradicated. Their entire civilization is structured around preventing another such existential threat. When our ships appeared without warning at their borders, we unintentionally triggered their deepest cultural trauma. This contextualizes their response, Secretary General Okafor acknowledged, but doesn't change our immediate security concerns. There's more, Singh said grimly. The display changed to show a complex pattern of historical confrontations spanning centuries. We've identified 27 instances where the Krell positioned themselves as saviors to species in conflict with the Vexari. In every case, the pattern is identical. They provide military technology, encourage escalation, and gradually assume control of their allies' resources and territories. The room erupted in concerned murmurs until a voice cut through the noise. Commander Reyes had been recalled to Earth to provide first-hand testimony about both the initial contact and subsequent Krell interactions. The Krell have been suspiciously selective with their technological sharing, she confirmed. Advanced weapons readily provided, but restricted access to their historical databases. They've guided our developmental priorities in specific directions while discouraging others. Secretary General Okafor's expression darkened. So we may be pawns in a conflict that predates our entire civilization. I believe so, Singh agreed. But this also presents an opportunity. As newcomers, we have no historical grievances with either side. We alone might see the board clearly enough to change the game. Silence descended as the council contemplated this perspective. Finally, Commander Reyes spoke again, her voice steady despite the audacity of her proposal. We need direct contact with Vexeri leadership, bypassing both the Krell and the ineffective Galactic Council. I propose a covert diplomatic mission to Vexeria itself. Impossible, General Rivera objected. Their home system has defensive layers that would detect any approach. Reyes smiled slightly. Not if we use the cloaking technology that graduate student Hernandez accidentally discovered while working on the quantum field generators. The technology the Krell insisted was theoretically impossible. For the first time since the crisis began, the Security Council chamber filled with something that had been in short supply. Hope. The modified stealth vessel Olive Branch slipped through the outer defensive grid surrounding Vexeria, its revolutionary cloaking technology bending light and other electromagnetic radiation around its hull. On the bridge, Commander Reyes studied the tactical display with carefully controlled breathing. Each of the 7 overlapping security layers they had bypassed would have detected any known vessel in the galaxy, except theirs. Final approach trajectory locked, reported Lieutenant Park, her fingers dancing across the navigation controls. Planetary insertion in 11 minutes. Dr. Singh looked up from her cultural briefing materials. The abandoned manufacturing district in the southern hemisphere still shows minimal activity on scans. It's our best landing option. Reyes nodded. Take us in. Maintain full cloak until we're groundside. The small diplomatic team, just 6 individuals selected for their unique expertise, watched in silence as the Vexeri homeworld grew larger on the view screen. Unlike Earth with its blues and greens, Vexeria displayed swirling patterns of amber and copper beneath wisps of silver-white clouds. A beautiful world, observed Dr. Chen, the team's xenobiologist. Their atmospheric composition would be toxic to us without protection, yet it created the conditions for their remarkable evolution. The Olive Branch descended through the upper atmosphere, its heat shields absorbing the friction without betraying their presence to the defensive satellites. Minutes later, they settled onto a landing pad in a long-abandoned industrial complex, buildings of strange geometric precision surrounding them like silent sentinels. Atmospheric suits sealed and verified, Commander Reyes confirmed as the team made final preparations. Remember, we have 72 hours before the Olive Branch must depart, with or without us. Moving through the sprawling Vexeri capital proved both easier and more enlightening than expected. The delegation, their environmental suits modified to approximate Vexeri worker-cased appearance, blended with the crowds flowing through the metropolis. Instead of the militaristic, paranoid society portrayed in Krell briefings, they witnessed a culture rich with artistic expression and scientific pursuit. These public structures, whispered Dr. Singh as they passed an enormous spiral building adorned with intricate glowing symbols. They're not military installations as the Krell claimed. That's clearly a museum. The patterns indicate historical preservation. Residential districts revealed Vexeri families engaged in communal activities, their young being educated in open-air learning centers. Markets buzzed with commerce and social interaction. Yet beneath the vibrant daily life, the humans noticed an undercurrent of vigilance. Automated defense systems integrated into public spaces, regular security announcements, citizens practicing emergency drills with practiced efficiency. During their second day of observation, the team discovered a sprawling memorial garden where countless luminescent markers represented lives lost. Dr. Singh paused before an enormous historical display, her translator working to decode the ancient inscriptions. This commemorates the Tyranny War, she breathed, understanding dawning. Billions of Vexeri died before they developed the defensive capabilities to drive back the invaders. Their entire society was rebuilt around one principle: never again. Commander Reyes studied the memorial, recognition flashing in her eyes. Just like Earth after the climate wars. Different trauma, same response: protect the future at all costs. We're more alike than either side realized, agreed Dr. Singh. The infiltration of the central governance complex succeeded through a combination of meticulous planning, creative problem-solving, and what Lieutenant Park described as ridiculous human luck. When the 6 environment-suited figures finally stepped into the private chambers of the Vexari High Command, they removed their helmets in a calculated risk that immediately achieved its desired effect. High Commander Zexfran and his 12 senior officers recoiled in shock, security protocols activating throughout the chamber. Yet before defenses could engage, Dr. Singh displayed images from the memorial garden on her portable projector. "We have not come as conquerors," she said simply, her translator conveying both words and emotional inflection. "We have come to show you this." The display shifted to historical Earth footage, human memorial services for war dead across centuries, children practicing emergency drills, defense systems integrated into daily life. "Our species share something profound," Commander Reyes continued as the stunned Vexari watched. "We both evolved as prey who outlasted our predators through intelligence, cooperation, and determination. And we both carried the scars of that journey." She placed a data crystal on the conference table between them. "This contains evidence that the Krell have been manipulating both our peoples. They'd done this before, many times, always with the same outcome." High Commander Zexfran's compound eyes studied the humans for a long moment before he responded. "You have penetrated our most secure defenses to deliver this message," he said finally. "Either you are the most audacious deceivers in galactic history, or someone we very much need to speak with." The temporary Joint Intelligence Center established in a secure underground facility beneath Vexaria's southern polar region buzzed with unprecedented cooperation. Human analysts worked alongside Vexari data specialists, their environmental differences accommodated through specialized atmospheric chambers that allowed both species to collaborate without protective gear. Commander Reyes stood with Fleet Master Zevrax, watching as the massive holographic display compiled centuries of data from both civilizations. The Vexari leader's exoskeleton had shifted to the deep indigo coloration that Dr. Singh had identified as indicating intense concentration. "The pattern becomes clearer with each new dataset," Zevrax observed, compound eyes tracking multiple information streams simultaneously. "The Krell have been engineering conflicts between developing species for over 12,000 years." Dr. Singh approached with a tablet displaying her latest findings. "We've identified 47 distinct incidents where the Krell presented themselves as benevolent allies to civilizations in conflict with the Vexari. In every case, they provided remarkably similar technological gifts, always weapons and defensive systems operating on specific energy frequencies." The central display shifted to show a complex energy signature analysis. Lieutenant Chen, the team's physicist, highlighted a particular pattern. "Every weapon system the Krell have encouraged both our species to develop produces distinctive energy particles during discharge. These anion particles are extraordinarily rare in nature and nearly impossible to generate artificially under normal circumstances. Yet they're produced in abundance during conflicts using Krell-influenced technology," added the Vexari chief scientist, her slender limbs manipulating the display to overlay historical battle data. "The quantity harvested correlates directly with the intensity of the conflict." Reyes felt a chill as the implication became clear. "They've been farming us, all of us, creating conflicts that generate exotic particles they harvest during the chaos." "Precisely," confirmed Zevrax, "and the evidence suggests these particles power their most advanced technologies, possibly their entire civilization." The room fell silent as a new analysis completed on the main display. A Vexari data specialist chittered in obvious distress. "What is it?" asked Reyes. "We've compared the developmental trajectories of both our civilizations," explained Zevrax, his voice unnaturally flat. "The Krell have been influencing technological development on both our worlds since our earliest detection. For Vexari, that spans nearly 6,000 years. For humans, since our first radio transmissions," finished Dr. Singh grimly. "They'd been subtly steering Earth's scientific advancement, creating coincidental discoveries that would inevitably lead to weapons generating these specific energy signatures." Reyes studied the evidence with growing anger. The quantum mirror defense system that Admiral Zhang deployed at Terra Nova, The Krell suggested the theoretical framework less than 2 months after first contact. Because it produces triple the standard anion yield when reflecting energy weapons, confirmed Chen. They weren't helping us defend ourselves. They were setting up a more efficient harvesting opportunity. An urgent alert interrupted their discussion as communications monitors began displaying emergency signals from both human and Vexari outposts across multiple systems. Massive Krell fleet movements detected, reported a human analyst, her face pale. They've launched simultaneous attacks against 3 human colonies and 5 Vexari installations. The tactical display updated to show the unfolding assault. The Krell forces demonstrated capabilities far beyond what they had previously revealed to either ally, overwhelming initial defenses with horrifying efficiency. "They know we've discovered their deception," said Zevrax. "They're eliminating the threat we pose together." Almost simultaneously, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. The formal declaration classified both humans and Vexari as dangerous rogue species requiring immediate containment. The Council had authorized all necessary force to neutralize the threat they supposedly pose to galactic stability. "The Council has been compromised," Dr. Singh realized. "The Krell's influence extends further than we imagined." Commander Reyes turned to meet Zevrax's compound gaze. "Our species have been manipulated into conflict for their benefit. Now we have a common enemy and very little time." The Vexari Fleet Master's exoskeleton shifted to the vibrant crimson of decisive action. "Then we shall show them something they never anticipated. Humans and Vexari, fighting side by side." Reyes nodded, already accessing emergency protocols on her communicator. "Let's give them a harvest they'll never forget." One standard galactic year later, representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations gathered aboard Unity Station, a massive habitation ring orbiting a neutral star at the intersection of former territorial boundaries. The station itself testified to the remarkable developments of recent months, its design seamlessly blending human adaptability with Vexari precision engineering. Ambassador Elena Reyes, formerly commander, adjusted her formal diplomatic attire as she prepared to address the inaugural assembly of the Galactic Confederation. Beside her, High Emissary Zevrax's exoskeleton shimmered with ceremonial pigments denoting historic significance. "Are you ready for this?" she asked her Vexari counterpart. "As ready as one can be when rewriting the foundational principles of galactic civilization," he replied. Compound eyes displaying the subtle light patterns she had learned indicated dry humor. Together they entered the grand chamber where delegates from across known space had assembled. Many species that had never directly communicated now sat together, their mutual isolation, another legacy of Krell manipulation, finally broken. "We gather today to formalize what began as an alliance of necessity," Reyes began, her words simultaneously translated into 22 languages. "The defeat of the Krell harvesting operations demonstrated that cooperation yields greater strength than conflict. But our victory brought responsibility with it." Zevrax continued seamlessly. "The old Galactic Council, compromised by centuries of Krell influence, has been dissolved. In its place, this confederation stands upon principles of transparency, mutual defense, and shared knowledge, with power balanced among all member species rather than concentrated in ancient hands." Visual displays activated around the chamber, showing the events of the past year. The decisive battle where human ingenuity combined with Vexari precision had turned the Krell's harvesting technology against them, creating a feedback loop that rendered their weapons useless. The liberation of worlds long manipulated into serving as unwitting energy farms. The discovery of species deliberately kept isolated to prevent unified resistance. "The Krell have retreated to their core systems," Reyes explained, their harvesting technology neutralized by the defensive network now protecting Confederation space. Their civilization, built entirely on exploitation rather than innovation, faces the challenge of genuine development for the first time in millennia. A Thraxian representative rose to speak. "We have reviewed the historical evidence. For 12,000 years, the Krell engineered conflicts, positioning themselves as saviors while harvesting the energy released in the battles they orchestrated. How can we be certain other such threats do not lurk beyond known space? Before either Reyes or Zevrax could respond, alert tones sounded throughout the chamber. The central display shifted to show long-range sensor data, a massive fleet of unidentified vessels approaching from beyond charted space. Configuration matches no known design, reported the Neferi sensor specialist, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with concern. Estimated arrival at current velocity, 14 standard days. Murmurs of alarm spread through the assembly until Zevrax raised his upper limbs for attention. This is precisely why the Confederation exists. We face the unknown together. With combined strength, no single species could muster. Throughout Confederation space, the automated defense network activated, not with panicked alerts, but with a message of reassurance broadcast in all known languages. Warning: hostile warship detected. Humans and Vexari are here. What once would have struck fear now brought comfort to countless worlds. The message represented not a threat, but a promise of protection, a declaration that the unprecedented partnership between humanity and the Vexari stood ready to defend all who desired peaceful coexistence. As the mysterious fleet approached, the Confederation opened diplomatic channels while maintaining defensive readiness. The Joint Command Center aboard Unity Station hummed with coordinated activity as humans and Vexari worked side by side, their former enmity transformed into an alliance that had already reshaped the galaxy. Admiral John watched the deployment of the combined fleet with quiet pride. Human vessels with their practical, adaptable designs moved in perfect synchronization with elegant, precision-engineered Vexari ships. What had once seemed incompatible now formed an integrated whole greater than its parts. "Whatever comes from the darkness beyond," Reyes said, gazing at the tactical display showing the approaching unknown, "we face it on our terms, not theirs." Zevrax's exoskeleton shifted to a rarely seen hue that Dr. Singh had identified as representing optimism. "Indeed, the galaxy has changed forever because your species arrived when it did. Humans are here, and that has made all the difference."